This is a full review of the Mount to Coast R1 Ultra Distance Racing Shoe. But before we break the shoe down in great detail, let me first deliver on the promise and the title of the thumbnail. What defines a great or successful ultra shoe? The upper, it needs to be breathable enough so that your feet don't sweat, but not so thin that it fails to protect your feet from colder conditions. For the midsole, you need protection underfoot, but too much stack height and you can weigh the shoe down. While we are talking about a matter of ounces, these ounces add up over ultra distances. Also, with the midsole, you want peppy energy return. After all, it is a race day shoe. But too much energy return, too aggressive of a plate, too steep of a rocker, then you've got a shoe that feels clumsy at slower paces. And a successful ultra shoe should be able to handle a variety of different paces. Mount to Coast seems to be in alignment with this notion, as the R1 is designed to oscillate between 6-minute miles to 13-minute miles. For the outsole, similar to the midsole, you need something durable, but not so thick it weighs the shoe down. So what's the paradox? In order to make a great ultra shoe, absolutely nothing should stand out. All of the components of the shoe should be right down the middle. Nothing special, completely forgettable. And let's think about it. If you're running from sun up to sundown, you kind of want the shoe to disappear on your feet and be the last thing you worry about. So I'm going to approach the Mount to Coast R1 through that lens. But before we get into the midsole, the upper, and the outsole, now that I've addressed the title, let's address the thumbnail. My shoe came with a flyer which reads like this. In the spring of 2024, British ultra runner Justin Montague took one pair of R1s to the northernmost point of Scotland to run the Joggle, a multi-stage ultra to the most southerly tip of England. Over 17 daily stages, he ran 854 miles, or 1,374 kilometers, setting a time that was almost 40 hours faster than the previous record. And he broke each day's individual record along the way. All right, so that gives us some sort of clues as to what we talk about when we talk about ultras, as this being an ultra shoe. It speaks to the built-in subtextual marketing and use case of it. The shoe is meant to go basically all day and long distances. And like I said earlier, the pace for the shoe would be 6-minute miles to 13-minute miles, or 4 to 8 minutes a kilometer. Now there is one more paradox that I'm going to get to at the end, but first let's get into the midsole, my favorite part of every shoe. This shoe is called the R1 and the R stands for race. So I was expecting something special from the foam, which is called light cell. And it has all the juicy super foam adjectives you could ever want. Hybrid PIBA blend, nitrogen infused supercritical foam. And so the midsole foam for me in the ride was completely underwhelming. Why? Because I was looking at it through the wrong lens. Now let's get into what it feels like to run in this shoe. Comparisons are challenging because there's nothing quite like this shoe. For the foam, it feels like a mini or a more nimble Asics Nova Blast 4 with slightly less bounce, but with more stability and guidance, which we'll get to. The platform on the bottom is slightly wider, kind of like a Hoka, nothing Bondi-like, but it's just stable and you really feel that stability. Now, there's also this midsole insert called Zero Sag, and it guides the foot very slightly. It's not a stability shoe, hints of stability from the heel to the big toe. Now, how do I feel about that personally? I'm not a fan, but that's only because I'm not a fan of stability shoes. I don't like shoes with hints of stability. I don't like when shoes force my body to do things they don't organically already do, because in the past I have felt pain, aches in my knees and my Achilles and parts of my body because of that guidance. To be fair, I have not experienced any aches from the Zero Sag technology. It's just my feet don't like to be told what to do. Are hipsters. Got hipster feet. Regardless, this shoe comes in at 8.5 ounces in my US men's size 9. It feels light underfoot. It feels good no matter where you land, so it accommodates heel strikers, and the energy return is solid when you land midfoot. I've taken it to 6-minute a mile pace, and it's surprisingly fantastic at that speed. And I've also plodded along, and it is completely forgettable. Before we move on to the upper, which is unique and special, I want to plant a seed. I want to ask a question. Is this shoe solving a problem that did not exist? What did people run ultras in before this shoe? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe already. Or if you're a hipster, don't subscribe. Definitely don't do that. For the upper, it is the most unique component of the shoe. It is a split upper, a fragmented upper, whatever you want to call it. Mount to Coast calls it a tuned fit dual lacing system because all these components have to have proprietary names. The upper deck has a traditional lacing system, and on the floor level, we have a pull system down here. This versatility allows the runner to adjust for toe box volume to accommodate for foot swelling. So the lockdown is incredible, and I would say almost too sensitive, which is a good thing. And this is the one element of the shoe that I could see other shoe companies hijacking in the future with different proprietary names. Okay, for the outsole, it is in that Goldilocks range of enough protection without being so much that it weighs the shoe down. Now, I did not try it in inclement weather, so I don't know exactly how sticky the outsole is, but certainly traction was not an issue. Also to note, this shoe is designed for the roads. This is not a trail ultra shoe. Overall, final verdict, what is this shoe? This shoe is an oatmeal cookie. It is an acquired taste. It is probably the most nuanced shoe that I've ever ran in, and the more that I run in it, the more that it grows on me. It is so subtle. There have been times on my run where I just catch a rhythm and I'm plodding along, more of a shuffle and a roll through, and it feels great. There are also runs that I've had in the shoe where I was feeling a little bit more frisky and I ran more at a steezy pace, using a fuller stride and landing more on the midfoot to forefoot, and the light cell foam is very pleasant. And that's this shoe. Pleasant, nice, not very exciting. And exciting is a word that connotates with race day shoe, but maybe when we're talking about ultra distance, we should remove exciting from our vernacular. Okay, for the highlights and the lowlights. For the highlights, I'll say the upper, and also I will say at 3:45 a kilometer, or about 6 minutes a mile, this shoe does shine. I do like it at those paces and at that speed. However, in real life, unless you're Jim Walmsley or Sage Candidate, you might not be hitting 6 minutes a mile in an ultra. It's still a solid shuffler at my paces. For the low lights, you've guessed it, it's going to be the hints of stability. Mount to Coast, I don't think that those things are necessary on the next iteration. I think the inherent stability of the platform and the way the shoe is built is enough. It's like the shoe's trying to be a little bit too accommodating. And while I did not feel any pain, I was aware of the sensation in my foot, and it's just kind of irksome for me. Okay, let's talk value now. $160. This shoe is a steal at that price if we're talking about running 874 miles. However, I have to be honest with you. I have never taken a shoe to 874 miles, and I am not going to take this shoe to 874 miles. Okay, most shoes that I run, I have a shoe problem. Most shoes I run at most 250 to 300 miles. The shoes that I really love, the Mad Max stack shoes, like the Skyward X, the Prime X Strung, the SE Trainer V1, I get those shoes 450, 500 miles. But at 160, that price is really only $20 more than a Nova Blast 4 or a Rebel V4, and you can use this shoe for your daily training miles and your long runs, and it is just as serviceable. So market value price is still right in there. Okay, I'm gonna hit you with one more paradox. What makes the Mount to Coast R1 special is that it's a shoe that's perfect for everyday running. Yet, if I'm being honest, I'll never reach for it because there's nothing particularly special about them. The specialness comes from the sum of its parts. Okay, I lied. I am going to continue to reach for the shoe, but only because Mount to Coast sent me these shoes and I want to honor them for that and give them a full review. And I can't fully review an ultra shoe without actually running an ultra in them. So let me go get fat adapted and start a series called Breaking 8. In the meantime, watch this other series I did called Breaking 3 right here.
We came along from last place, bottom to top of the fast pace. Out of this surf, I get touchdown. I take a loss, get it back 8. I'm in the gym putting numbers up. You're never there, you got bad traits. Never excuse.